Start in three. Take it. Have a nice sip.
Yeah.
Yeah. What first things first? How do you make your creatives for all your Instagram posts?
Yes, I do.
Because that's really
I
cool.
am. No, I do, and I'm still learning. So I'm hoping there's a lot of scope for improvement soon. But yeah,
But that's crazy. I just saw your post on BoJack Horseman. Have you watched the
yeah.
show? Like, full?
Yes, I have.
Love it. I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite shows.
It's one of my favorites
Yeah,
too.
dude. So Aaron Paul, you know who Aaron Paul is, right? The guy who plays Todd.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that it's that every like how you were saying like representation of mental health. I think each character presents like some or the
its
other.
own.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what makes it so special, right? I mean, even even like in reality, all of us are face. We all have mental health, and we all have some sort of problems, and we all have some sort of ways of like coping with things. Some cope better than others, and that's how we're all just like normal
yeah,
that
and
way.
I think even shows that like even shows like Simpsons and all of these shows have multiple episodes where they like represent the idea of how shit actually exists but is not taken like seriously. You get what I mean?
Like I get what you say, but what you're saying, but like I haven't seen
Oh, you
Simpsons
should
yet,
watch
so
it. You should watch it. There's one. Have you watched Family Guy?
no.
Okay, so
Wow.
in that there's one kid who one of the kid has like he keeps saying that he sees an evil monkey in his closet, and throughout the show nobody believes him and all of that. He keeps complaining, but his parents go like, "What the fuck are you talking about? There's no evil monkey. That's a lie and shit like that." But he keeps seeing it. Like you get it. That's the
Yeah.
idea is that I don't know what the kid must be having, but he sees and he has some issue, but nobody kind
Yeah.
of acknowledges it. That's the crazy
Yeah.
part. But anyway, how you
Okay.
been, Rashi?
Been really
How
good.
long have
How
you
have you
been
been?
back for now?
It's been 3 months since I'm back. Yeah.
So when are you done? You're done with your graduation, right?
Yes, I'm done with my graduation. I'm done with everything. In fact, I have my diploma in my hand. So
Yeah.
it was a little weird to like come in terms with it because because of the pandemic we didn't have a proper closure, but I think it's what it is, and
How long was your
yeah,
master's course for?
it was for a year.
And clinical psychology, right?
I did counseling.
Counseling. But it's an MSc, right? What's the
Yes.
difference? Like MA, can you get an MA in counseling psychology?
Yes, I mean it depends on the way the course is being what you say given.
Yeah.
Most of the MA courses are not very research based. MSc courses are more research based. So
But do
that's
you,
one
yeah.
difference.
Is there a
Yeah.
difference in like, let's say, suppose an MA student, like, in psychology, like we have the whole biology aspect of it also, right? The whole, um,
I think it depends on what subjects you choose, and every university, school, colleges have very different courses. So uh, we had one separate course just for psychological distress. So it was psychological distress and therapy. So it was extremely specific. So people generally do or have different ex- like what you say, not expectations, but within psychology they have like different ways of going through methods. So either person centered or psychoanalytic or art and
yeah.
narrative. So they are very different therapies, and we can specialize in any.
But have you
And
have you heard of that thing in psychoanalytical, like the whole idea that it's pseudoscience. Have you ever heard of that thing?
Mhm.
No?
I
So
haven't.
it's really cool. I
What
want to
is it?
get your take on it. Like, since you're already, I'm halfway through with my college and I'm majoring in psych only, but this is a really cool idea. So there was this dude called Karl Popper. Okay, he was a philosopher, and that
Okay.
guy was like, you cannot prove psychoanalysis wrong. So,
Okay.
like, think about it. Like, I don't know if you agree with this, but think about it. Like, if you make an analysis, there's
Okay.
no way to prove it wrong, right?
I mean, analysis and hype. Making an analysis is basically making an
Hmm.
assumption कि ये होता है या ये हो सकता है
Hmm.
according to me.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's also according to me means that it is possible or not
Yeah.
possible, right? It's like can be wrong, can be
Exactly.
right kind of a
Exactly.
thing.
So that's what that guy was saying. Like, there is no way of proving it like wrong, in a way that, like, if you say that my behavior towards children, if I'm like always angry at kids at the age of 50, it might be due to
Huh,
some like repressed feelings of me not being happy as a kid. Let's say you make that assumption, right?
yeah,
Based on, like, if you're my therapist, if you make that observation and that
yeah.
psychoanalytical assumption, what that dude was saying was there's no way of verifying that this is true or not true. Like,
We can always go back and trace back the steps and see, right, ki okay, when did the anger start, why is the anger coming, or what is the narrative that person is telling themselves. So like I believe, and that's how that's what my practice is based on, that each individual has their own narrative,
hmm,
each individual has their own story, their own way of saying it. So and there's no specific diagnostic label.
hmm,
So one of the reasons I did counseling studies was because they're not very attached to diagnostic labels, and so I just like that and feel that it's more positive,
hmm,
more effectful, and yeah. So like I was saying, we can always trace back their narration and say that, I am saying all the time to myself that I as a kid didn't have a good childhood, I won't let anybody else have a good childhood. So like, I mean, then that's when you prove that, okay, maybe this guy has childhood problems, and he's putting his behavior or suppressing, or projecting his bad childhood
yeah.
into somebody, something like that.
But that's the thing. Like, what the argument for that is that you were saying, right? The word you used, diagnostic labels, right? Diagnostic labels. So that's the thing. Like, since there are no diagnostic labels, that also means that there is no like set particular, like, let's say a chemistry theory, right? Like, let's say if you light alcohol on fire, like, if you put a flame to alcohol, it'll catch fire, right? That's a proven fact. You can observe it, right? But that's like what the argument is, that there is no way to prove particularly that this is truly why. Like, we can find all possible, like, let's say it's that person himself is saying that, okay, yeah, I feel jealous of these kids, that person's, or all the things match, but at the same time there's no, like, let's say some verifiable hard scientific proof. Like, that's the argument. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's pretty interesting.
yeah, it is interesting to see, but I'm not very sure of it because I haven't read much about it.
Yeah,
It just, yeah. So, but it's nice, it's interesting, and I would want to know more
I'll
about
send.
it.
I wrote a whole like, I wrote a whole assignment on that thing itself. Like, it's pretty cool. So
Okay, yeah, I would love to see it. It sounds
yeah,
interesting.
I'll send it to you. But on to, I wanted to ask you one thing. So this is, although I know the obvious answer, I still want to understand it a little more. The difference
Yeah.
between a psychiatrist and a psychologist is exactly what?
So basically, it's the way of studying
Okay.
their streams. So a psychiatrist does their masters. They have a doctor's degree, and they're allowed to prescribe medication. So they take the science route, and a psychiatrist takes more
Psychologist.
of the
Ah,
psychologist basically takes the therapeutic route. So we have counseling, we do counseling, short term counseling, and we talk, or we have other different ways of looking at patients without prescribing them
yeah, because
medications,
you,
more
yeah,
long
you
term.
did work like you trained also somewhat. I don't know, training is the right or not, under a psychiatrist, right?
I mean, I did do an internship under a psychiatrist, but I I I believe that there is no designation, like, a psychologist has to work under a psychiatrist or not. A psychiatrist and a psychologist like work very
Exactly.
independently,
Yeah, yeah.
can work very independently. Um, so it's no like that, a psychologist always comes under
No,
a
no, no. What
psychiatrist. Not
what I'm asking is like the difference between in practice, now that you're already now that you are practicing by yourself, right?
somehow.
And you might have
Yeah.
sat in on, let's say, some sessions with a psychiatrist. What do
Yes.
you think is the
Yeah,
difference, like in
I mean,
practicality when you're practicing?
I mean, I haven't sat in any sessions with um, psychiatrists since I started my own practice, because none of my clients, I haven't had the need to refer my clients to a
Yeah.
psychiatrist yet. But yes, I think us, and this is very personal. I could be very
Ah,
wrong. I just think that a psychiatrist is more short term,
okay.
as in they wouldn't indulge in a deep rooted counseling
Yeah.
therapy.
Okay, I get what you mean.
So yeah, so it's more about your symptoms, and a more directive route.
Yeah. So stuff like if today you have, let's say, a problem A because of a lack in certain medicate or like certain hormones or certain like stuff like that, right? They could prescribe a medicine, an antidepressant for dopamine or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Psychiatrist
Yeah, yeah,
good,
yeah.
psychotherapist. Yeah,
Fair enough. I get it. So it's like basically a doctor, like a doctor who gives you, let's say, a crocin for your headache is somewhat what
yeah,
a psychiatrist does.
yes.
Fair enough.
You could. Yeah.
But that's which is why like an individual, like, do you think like they go more a person would go to a therapist for a longer span than they would to a psychiatrist?
I mean, it depends on the medication. It depends on the symptoms or how they are coping. Or with so there are like a lot of other factors that also depend on going to a psychiatrist or not going to a psychiatrist, or how long they will be on medication. Sometimes it just so happens that you have to take the medication at a very low
Hmm.
dose, but you do have to take it for a very long time, 3 4 years, and that's fine. I mean, it's just that's how the medication
Yeah,
plays.
fair enough. I another thing like I wanted to get your take on. This is one of the main reasons I wanted you on was because you're 23, right? Yes.
I'm 10,
Yeah. So
almost done.
24. So coming from a like an age group that is now, I don't know, like really into the whole idea that guys, mental health is not a fucking joke. Like you gotta start taking that stuff seriously. What, like, do you feel that there is a difference in how you approach therapy as a younger person as opposed to somebody who's experienced and who's, let's say, like 50 or something like that?
It's a very interesting question, and I don't think that is more, that is like, I don't know how to explain, but I don't think that's very true, because psychology as a subject is very evolving, and it's based on a lot of different things. There are always new things coming up, there's always research going on. So even if you're like, say, done with your
Hmm.
studying and done, and you don't, yeah, you're done with your studying, you have everything, you have your own practice, you're practicing since 20 years, but then you suddenly hear about this new therapy that's come, or this new study that somebody's done, and there's this new research. And as psychologists, you need to keep up with that field
Yeah,
of, ever evolving field. So whatever the ages or however long people have been in this field, they are always, looking into these new studies, into these new roles or evolving nature of human nature. And that's how they are also very evolving, and that's how they try to get their their new learnings into their practices.
fair enough.
So I think, yeah, I think because of the nature of the subject and the human nature,
Hmm.
um, everybody is very
Up to date with stuff.
progressive. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because that's what the subject is all about.
yeah.
So like, the 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 newest, what you say, therapies, or psychologists, the upcoming psychologists are trying to be more queer affirmative. So,
Sorry, the bell rang. It's
well,
fine. It's okay.
okay. So yeah, so they're being more, so they're trying to be more, what do you say,
Inclusive.
inclusive of every
Yeah.
individual. And I know somebody, like, I have a supervisor for my practice, and she's 35 or something, and she's a word affirmative
Therapist.
therapist. And yeah, so I mean, it just seems like a good
Yeah.
possibility.
Because I actually had a queer affirmative therapist, Anchal Narang, if you know who she is. She was from Jamnabai only. Yeah,
Okay.
so she is a queer affirmative therapist, and is quite involved in the whole trans rights and trans issues and gender issues in general. But
Okay.
yeah, like that field I think has come up in a way which is like, it's not come up, but it's actually like that door has opened now, that like, guys, there's something like this as well. Like there are, it's, I think, getting a little more specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a need that was there, in for for this therapy, or for this education to be given and sourced to
Hmm.
like people around. So it's not just therapists. These therapists are increasing the word, and like, are trying to make everybody understand how they can be more inclusive in, their everyday
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
So it's more than just being a therapist who's cure affirmative and like seeing and knowing and understanding their problems. Like, there also are people around, like, I am not a queer affirmative therapist, by say of like, I understand what the problems is and everything, but I have never had special training
Yeah.
or anything, which I am looking forward to doing it someday.
Hmm.
But yeah, I learn so much more when I see them. Oh, I it just makes me feel like, oh yeah, that's also a part I can include in my
Hmm.
therapy or something like that. And they have so much more to say about things. So yeah.
Because like I think what you're saying also resonates in a way where like, it's not only that you need therapy just to feel better. There are things you need to
Yeah.
actually tackle in your life, which are, which people specialize in. Like, no, I think, as a, I don't know, like, this is my assumption, as a therapist you can probably tell me, like, there is a whole different world as a therapist that you see, which you are more aware of, because I am coming to you as, let's say, somebody who is your patient, right? There is a whole world that you are involved in as a therapist, which is so complex because of different things that are involved. There are so many, and you're responsible for somebody's life to a certain extent, right?
That's true. I think most of the people who have done masters or this subject would second that while their practice was going on, they had to tackle their own issues. So like in my um, what do you say in my masters, we would sit down, we would be learning about things, and we would also be going through therapy, we would also be doing peer counseling. So we had to see what's coming up for ourselves within the therapy, where we are able to draw a line, where we're not able to draw a line between me and the client or me and the peer counselor. And once you understand where your brackets are not, like where you're not able to draw a line, and where your life or your personal life or your own experience are interfering with your therapist, that's when it makes you is more self-aware. It also helps you understand what kinds of clients you can or cannot deal with at the moment, before you have that whole part of your life sorted out. So like for example, if I have issues with my brother or my sister, and somebody comes up to me with the similar kinds of issues, I need to be very careful about it, saying, if I'm not projecting my lives, my issues and everything onto my clients, right?
Hmm.
So I need to so we all have supervisors for that. We all have
Rashi, can you hear me? Oh my. Okay, and we're back. I'm recording again. Okay, Rashi. Yeah. So I was, since we don't remember what we were talking about, I'll go ahead with something I had in mind. So I was asking you about the whole idea as a young therapist, right? So considering that each individual, like from their own experience, enacts and behaves a
Mhm.
particular way, thinks a particular way, do you find yourself, as compared to, let's say, an older therapist or someone like that, thinking differently as because of your age in particular?
I don't know. I'm not very sure what to say to this, because I haven't given much thought to
Hmm.
it. Um, I think maybe, yeah, but also at the same time, I feel like it depends on a lot of other factors, and account, I just don't want to account age for a factor of like different thinking.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, isn't that true to everybody? Like
Exactly
if
what
we
I
just
mean. Yeah.
yeah. If even if we not keep therapist in account, isn't it true for everybody who, like me and my sister, who are the same age? So I have a cousin sister, um, who's 6 months younger to me, but and almost like we grew up in the same house and everything, but we are still different and we have a different way of thinking. So there are so many different factors that play a role. So I just don't want to. I don't know what
No, I
I
get you. I
have.
get you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't completely know what I feel about yeah.
Yeah, because I think that question comes from the idea, according to me at least, like the reason I want to ask that is because I notice, right, like one of the things that we have established as society in general these days is that the younger generation, let's say like people who are below the age of 30, 30,
Mm-hmm.
35, are very well aware of the fact that it's very important to take care of yourself, to ensure that you are regularly in touch with what you are feeling and what is going on, and you're not just living life haywire. Like, it's okay to slow down and think. It's okay to go see a therapist, all of that, right? And rather
You
it's
know that
advocated.
I think that is a very naive form of thinking. Because I believed that for a very long time, and I came here, I started Enrich, and I saw myself getting so worked up sometimes, or not, following the boundaries that I created for myself, or I would advocate for my clients, and I would realize that, and I would want to make a change in everything. I would talk to my supervisor about it, or my friends about it, and I would try to make a conscious effort. But then there was always something that would come up, and I was like, oh no, I really need to read about this. I know this is work and I have to ignore it, but like
Hmm.
sometimes sometimes it just doesn't happen. And
No, I'm not saying that that what I am saying is that it is important. Like what I'm saying is that we have started to recognize the fact as a generation and as a society that things you shouldn't take mental health lightly, right? And I think,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah, but like understanding it and like putting it into play are two different things, and I don't think we are still there
But yeah, but that's
into
still
like putting it
progress,
in.
right? Like
It is
acknowledging.
acknowledging the fact that mental health is really important is a very big progress, but I think that is also I think we can say that in general for a lot of people, because like I think um, I've seen a lot of conservative families being more open now about it
Hmm.
than what 1 year back their thinking would be. And so I think it's a win for the whole
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after the pandemic, people are being more open, at least to talk about it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. Like
even if
I,
like, it's a smaller number of people, but they are.
yeah, and
There's some progress.
I see that, like, see, the use of social media especially, I think, plays a big role because it's it's like, let's take how bullying was, right? In Jamnabai, like we're from Jamnabai, it's quite prominent and quite prevalent, the whole culture of bullying. I mean, fuck yeah. I'm sorry, my bell keeps ringing. That's fine. Like the whole idea that there is, like, we had school counselors and all of that, although they did their best to their ability to ensure that that doesn't occur and all of that bullying doesn't, you know prevail in our school. I think
Hmm.
their efforts were quite useless as compared to what, let's say, people putting up Instagram stories has done, right? Because the whole idea of justice from people itself, rather than like a random person on the internet, can give you as much support as you might need from, let's say, your family in these situations. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've become more accepting.
Um, I'm on a very weird stance with that. I feel because I'm sure you must have heard about the Janvi Kukreja case that happened um, on the New Year's Eve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that actually took me back, and I was just wondering different factors about it, and
But can I ask you, I'm a little confused. What do you mean when you say you're on like on the fence about this?
so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So when you say random people or your friends can help you so much, this whole case happened when there were like friends and family around them. In fact, two friends did it, and they were childhood best friends. There were cameras, they all came from good schools, they all came from good, like the parents provided them with everything, good teachers, good upbringing, money, everything is there. I mean, uh, we say illiteracy is the cause of crime in India,
Yeah.
but well, there was this party with like what, 25 people, 30 people, say, with all literates coming from good backgrounds, and something this horrifying happens,
I don't think,
and
like,
you just feel like, how is
it's not connected. I don't think the like what I mean by random people supporting you on the internet, what I mean is that pages that, like, let's say your page, right? You put up on your Instagram page, you put up, let's say, something that you should do to ensure that the five things you should feel or something you put up. I'm sorry, it beats me.
Five senses of self-care.
Yeah, yeah.
Five senses
Right.
of self-care. Yeah.
Can you explain what
Yeah.
that is before I go ahead?
So it was basically a post of you of connecting self-care to the five senses everybody has, and how people can just simply use these small, like, have these small practices of self-care to everyday kind of self-care practices to ensure their mental health.
Yeah. So where I was getting at was you putting up that one post on your Instagram page has a ripple effect of, let's say, five people actually getting help from you. Might just be a random person on the internet for them, right? Like if I didn't know you and I saw that post, right, it would be probably beneficial to me, and that there is no negative to you putting that up, right? So
Yeah. No,
positive stuff on the internet is helping a lot more people than the whole. What I was connecting that with was a school counselor that had regular seminars in our foyers and all of that, gathering people in the school hall and giving them speeches, did less of a job with helping people get helped after being bullied than probably you putting up that post. I, I don't see the connection with like the Janvi
like,
case.
I took it in a way, like, how everybody puts up stories for justice and different things, and
No. That's not at all. I think that's rather like I don't know, like in my opinion that spreads awareness, but I don't think that does any benefit to anybody. Like that is a severe, like I don't think you can attribute that like case with anything related to society. Like I don't want to demean somebody who has gone through something so heavy, but it's maybe got to do with those horrible people rather than what we talk about, like mental health and all of that stuff, right? Friends, family, all of that. That's very different. I don't know. This is like my take on it, to be very honest.
I'm still very.
Confused.
No, I'm not confused. In fact, about this one case, I'm not confused about. But no, I think it has a lot to say about society. It does.
What does it have to say?
Like how I said before, these all people came from really good backgrounds, and all they had to, one had to go down and say, "Hey, I need help." One had to go down one floor and knock on somebody's door.
Yeah, but also they're fucking 19 years old. What the fuck do they know? Like apart, I don't think like I mean they have
And
absolutely no idea what's going on.
if a 19-year-old can kill somebody, leave them on the road, and have the sense to go at two different separate hospitals so they don't get got back or traced back to that one person, I think they have the sense of like asking for help.
No, okay. I don't
You know,
really know the nitty-gritties of the case, but where you say that illiteracy is not the cause of crime, particularly,
I'm not saying it's not the cause. I'm saying
no,
it's
I
not.
agree with you. I agree. I that's where I get you. But I think that like I think it's a very isolated case upon which like I I don't even know if I have the knowledge about what all went down to talk about it. So like
Okay.
I don't know, like rather
No,
not.
yeah, I was really into the case. I was reading up a lot about
I'm
it.
sure. And like that, to be fair, like I don't know, man. I rather not. For me personally, I rather not like think about these things because like it scares me. Like when I go out, like it's scary to
Yeah,
think about this.
it is actually very scary, and I mean that's also some sort of self-care, right? If you you're aware of it, like you are aware that this happened, but you don't um dwell upon it because you feel like, that's, I you'll be put down, but you know that this is something that is happening or can happen, or
Hmm.
I need to be safe, but you're aware about it but not getting too into it, kind
Hmm.
of a self-care.
Maybe I'm taking care of myself. And I don't know. I don't. That's also something I don't think about. But another thing I wanted to ask you about was your research. Can you, like you told me, but can you tell people what who are listening, like what your research was on?
Yeah. So I did a research on female child sexual abuse in India. So and how child sexual abuse, experience of child sexual abuse, has on your adult self, and that was it was a very interesting research. I spoke to a lot of survivors, and we it was it was it was just so much to explore in that field, and I, I don't know if I can talk about it right now, but I just feel like it was such a nice experience to know and understand to see how everything has affected them and how they have connected their past and their adult self, themselves. So in my research, I would ask them questions, and I would see if they see any connections, and they would give such so like one of the most touching. Okay, I don't think I should ethically talk about what they
It's
said.
up to you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
I'm
Can I ask you, like,
not very
what
sure if I.
age group did you pick?
So I was looking at early adulthood. So I picked people who were survivors between the age of 23 to 28. So,
23 to 28. Okay. And like how many people did you
so all my all three.
that's it? Okay, but it might be a very
Yeah.
detailed
So
study then.
yeah, it was a qualitative study. So we had interviews for 2 or 3 hours, and we just went into each and every matter
Hmm.
down to depth. And it was I used the method IPA. So it's basically whatever my participant would say, I would see different themes that would come within that, within that narrative.
Hmm.
So how was the body language, or the way, the grammar or the language, what was the, yeah, it was just a very what do you say, deep,
Detailed.
not
Yeah.
detailed, yeah, detailed method, yeah.
Yeah. But that,
But it
like,
was,
did you pick any particular region, anything, any particular social class? Did you do any of that?
yeah. So so to make it as specific as I could, I did choose all three of my participants from the metropolitan cities. So one was
Hmm.
from Bangalore, one was from Bombay, one was from Delhi. So it was from all three different regions. So west, south, north, to
Hmm.
have and to see how stereotypes and cultural norms of each state,
Hmm.
because in geographically there are a lot of cultural norms within India, would also play a role into that. So we have so I kept different aspects of India as a society also in mind while interviewing them.
So did
The
you, yeah,
patriarchy,
yeah,
things like that. Yeah.
fair enough. So when you, like, did you ask something like your coping strategy or what measures have you
Uh,
taken?
no, no. My questions were very based on societal norms or their past experience and how they felt because of their past experiences. So like I didn't go a lot into like what happened and what went wrong, and like
Mm-hmm.
how was that experience, or like get details about the experience, because I was researching more about more about how they that has impacted them right now, their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and if they would, they believe that there are traces of um, the past experiences actually
Yeah.
affecting their these
Hmm.
these these facts of themselves, not facts, but like these parts of the self.
Yeah. What was your hypothesis? Sorry, what is a question? Like here, a question would apply rather than a hypothesis, right?
So I had different prompts. My research was
What
semi-structured.
did you have
So
different?
prompts. So
What's
my
a prompt?
research was, yeah. So my research was semi-structured interview. So we would, like, how we are talking right now. We would get on
Yeah.
a call and like you you are asking me some kind of questions and I'm elaborating,
Hmm.
and that's how we would just go with the flow. So
Yeah.
I didn't have any
Structured questions in particular or
structured
a
questions.
list.
Yeah, so I made myself a little prompt, like, okay, if
Prompt
I am
P.
lacking,
PROM.
yeah, prompt.
Ah, okay. I thought PROM. I
P-
didn't. Yeah. Okay. Prompt. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Now I get it.
So that's how I went with the interviews.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. So, like, did you have any particular hypothesis or a particular question that you would have wanted to, like you said that you wanted to see the current effects of child sexual abuse in females in their life today, right?
Adult, the
Yeah.
adult self.
So,
Yeah.
did you have a hypothesis for it?
So I believe that it affected them in their adult self. So I believe that their self confidence and self esteem and everything was vastly affected, um, affected by the past experience.
Yeah.
And I didn't have, I didn't measure negatively or positively in my
Yeah, yeah,
hypothesis.
yeah. There's no measure for negatively or positively in this case,
Yeah,
especially, right?
yeah.
99% is going to be negative unless you're a very odd person who takes this as like, fuck, how, like, like
I
a
think,
booster. There are very few people who take that as a, like, I know of people who have experienced like really bad situations, and I've gotten into a conversation with them where like I've asked like, how do you think like this affects you today? They, quite a few of them say that yeah, most definitely it's like horrible and it affects my relationships and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know some of them who have taken this as a fuck you to society, that like, if you could do this to me, I'm gonna prove to you how great I can be. I mean, obviously, it's maybe good or bad, I don't know, but there is probably a population that might take this as a like a negative reinforcer. You know what I mean? Like it reinforces your like how bad you feel. You want to ensure that that never happens to you again. So you work really hard and you do really well for yourself to make yourself feel elevated. I don't know if that's
yeah.
making any sense.
Mm, yeah.
Did it make any sense to you, or am I like, you can tell me if I'm wrong? Like the idea is to know
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. No, I mean, it does make sense to a certain extent, and I think there's nothing right or wrong.
hmm.
I think my research basically explored very different parts. So we also explored how they are in relationships,
Hmm.
or how it has affected their sexuality, or intimacy problems, and so it was like, a self as a whole that I explored.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of integrated details that came into play, and saying negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement to these details would be being very
Judgmental.
um, not judgmental, I would say, being very how do you say,
Attributed.
no, being very naive about or ignoring these small
serious.
parts of themselves.
Yeah. Rather than taking that as an as a thing that happened and seeing the actual effect of it, not like it's not a study as to how like how well you're doing in life. It's a study as to how it has truly impacted you. I get what you mean. Fair enough. Yeah, but did you consider the economic status or the social status that they're in?
Um, no, actually didn't. That was one of my limitations because I didn't see their economic status, and no, and the social status, in aspect to, we did talk about upbringings, but we didn't talk about it in as much detail than I could, make
Hmm.
another assumption or theme out of it.
Yeah,
So it was one of the limitations in my study.
because the moment you told me, like when we were talking on call and you told me this was your research topic, the first thing that came up in my head was I want to know like so I conducted research for it's very low scale, like very
No,
small
that's
scale research, but it
uh
was one of my projects, and we were studying the motivations of entrepreneurs to and the difference in motivation between men and women. So like are women more money driven or purpose driven? Are men more money driven or purpose driven? What is more?
that does sound like an interesting research though.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just that it was a college scale project, which is why I really couldn't like go in depth. But maybe like in the future, if I ever get a chance, I'll do that like on a larger scale. But
Yeah.
the idea, I don't know where the fuck was I getting with it. Yeah, the limitation. Yeah, one of the limitation I feel like, as you were saying, that a whole set of new assumptions that you can or cannot make, right? I think it does impact, like with your study, the whole idea is that it's the current situation is being assessed, right? And how they are currently impacted, right? But
Yeah.
the problem that occurs with that is that there's a lot externally that might be affecting them right now, which
Yeah.
might not be related to their past trauma, right? Like their job status might be really impacting them right now, and they might be feeling a issue with, let's
but
say.
but we didn't talk about it. So we always spoke about the past and the present, so I
Absolutely,
don't
but
think,
go ahead.
no, I don't think you got the idea right, or I don't think I explained the idea
No, but
right.
can you like say it again, like I just in case I
uh,
didn't get it right.
so how do I say it? So basically, when we were exploring things, or when we would always be talking about their self confidence, and somebody would say, "Yeah, my self confidence built up when I got this job," and
Okay.
we would consider that, but like we would also say that, okay, um, I don't know how to explain it. I'm very
No, no,
bad at it.
you're answering my question though, like the external
Yeah,
factor,
yeah,
let's say that they got a
yeah.
job, right?
Yeah, so we would include it, but it's we would also see it in relation to the journey they had from the past to like right now, when we're talking about confidence,
Hmm. Hmm.
intimacy,
Hmm.
or
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
respect, or the different ways they play it. So we would be talking about the journey
Hmm.
rather than just one thing,
But
if that makes sense.
no, I got it. I got it. Yeah. Which is what I'm saying is, like I thought that's one of the issues you would face, right? Like the fact that there are multiple external things that might be affecting them, which you have to take into account. Like let's say if they have a lot of money right now, maybe they're in a better spot psychologically because they don't have to worry about, let's say, where their next meal is coming from. And on top of that, having the whole idea of dealing with their past situation, it eases the burden somewhat, or even if not eases the burden, rather doesn't add extra burden of, let's say, not knowing what to do financially, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? So my research was very self based. um
Okay. No, I'm getting what you're saying. Just say it. I'll
yeah,
understand it. Trust me.
no, after, like, say, after experiencing such a traumatic event,
Hmm.
you change completely. So there
Absolutely.
are things that there are times when, even if you know that where your next meal, you know that you don't have to worry about,
Hmm.
your next meal coming from, or is going to be taken care of, you're still a very different person. And we explore that very different person,
Okay. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. But did you like
It
end
does
up?
play a role. Yes, I'm saying it. I agree that it would play some sort of
Yeah.
role,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
about the external factors.
Yeah.
But that was not my main concern of the
Yeah.
study. So it
Yeah.
was, it was, so that's why we spoke about it in part of limitations, because um, if I was taking only, say, one social background, one economic group, or one metropolitan city, one middle, only just looking at middle class girls, then I could explore those different
Yeah.
methods. But again, mine was at, it was a master's level dissertation where I had to complete it in 25,000 words. So there were a lot of other factors also
Yeah.
within my research for me playing a role into
Yeah.
the study.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Is there any like you must have read any like prior literature for this, right?
Yes, yes,
Like how
I
much
did.
did you read, bro? That must have fucking killed you, bro. I would have died, dude.
I loved it. I loved it. But unfortunately, there was not much research done within it, India. Um, so I had to connect very a lot of other researches and a lot of other countries and
Hmm.
talk about how it can be the cultural differences in India. So it was a lot of fun, and fortunately my guide was in love with India, and she has conducted a lot of research within India for the people of India. So she helped me a lot throughout the way of addressing these cultural differences and everything. So I just got lucky there.
Fair enough. That's good though, man. Like I don't know, like while if you put me to read, like the only thing I would hate, like the if I was ever conducting a research, I'd get a partner for the sole reason that I would put that person on the task of like doing literature and literature review and all. I fucking hate it, man. Like I can't.
I do agree that it's boring, but I also think it's fun.
There's
And
no
I know it's,
no
and it makes no sense,
no
but
no. It's not. It's not. It's horrible. It's not. Reading is not the problem. Finding shit is the problem. You get it?
yeah, I get it, but like when you read other people's work and having the similar ideas that they have, and like you see where your motivation comes from, their motivation comes from, and then it's just like, people want to make a difference, people want to research more, people, I think I love research in general, and the whole idea of research. That's why I love small bits of everything. And
What's wrong with
yeah,
you? What is wrong with I'm more of a YouTube video guy, man. Like I'd watch a couple of YouTube videos and get the idea. Like that's me. Sitting and
yeah.
reading,
No,
it sounds good.
it was me until I met this guy.
Oh, it's it that much of a difference a guide can make?
I mean, it was not just the guide, it was also my professors in the other field and my friends and everybody. I think it was just the whole experience. It was just everything.
Yeah.
Um, and the motivation. I absolutely love my topic also. I want to, in fact, do a PhD within the topic and see what happens next and explore more factors within the same topic.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it was, I think, the topic and everybody around me that motivated it.
Absolutely. I get it. That's interesting. Damn. But yeah, on the lines of your, let's say, your college, right? How much time did you get to conduct your research?
Um, I started. So we had to give our topics in December.
Huh.
Once you give your topics, you get a guide and everything in Jan. Yeah, after a month, I got a guide, and then you start filling an ethics form. And since my topic was such of is so sensitive, was so sensitive, I fought for 3.5 months just to get my ethics approved. And it was about 30, no, 20 ethics application redos that made into one final redo. And yeah, so March, April, I got my ethics approval, and that's when I started. And I submitted my paper in August, so 4 5 months.
Yeah, that's insane. So you graduate the moment you are done with your research?
No, I graduate the minute I get my diploma, my my what do you say, dissertation mark.
Yeah. So once you're
So I
done,
have
like with the course exams and shit like that.
to like, pass my dissertation, and that's when I pass, like,
Yeah.
graduate.
Yeah. But did you, like, you studied in University of Edinburgh, right? How is it there?
Oh, I think you shouldn't be asking me because I'm the most biased person ever. Or anybody who studied in any university in Edinburgh to comment about Edinburgh. The place is absolute beauty, and
Your Instagram stories are genuinely like a travel vlog, which is why I asked you this. Like, genuinely, you look like a travel vlogger. Like,
every street, every lane is to be picturized.
it's you
It
wearing
needs.
a beanie and like a nice like scenery behind you. That's genuinely like, I was like, she's a travel vlogger, bro. Like, that's crazy.
No, but every place in Edinburgh, or every street corner is something that you can get clicked or be clicked in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Did you work there part time or
Um.
something like that?
No, I actually really did wish I worked there, and I wanted to get work. I applied a lot of places. It was a tedious and horrifying and
Horrifying.
I mean, it was the pandemic, and you wouldn't get reply backs from companies or even
Yeah,
institutions where you applied to, and so it was, yeah, a little demotivating and horrifying at the end of the day. But then I think I'm in terms into like I'm okay with that fact now,
yeah,
because I think I like that I tried. I gave my best and I didn't give up, and that's one factor I like, and that's why. Um, so in fact, my parents would say, "It's the pandemic. You come back now. You're done with everything. Come back. Don't try. Don't try. Don't try." And I still tried, and I said, "Papa, mom, Dad, I'll come back in December for sure." But in November, in fact, I called them. In October end, I called them and I said, "Okay, I think I'm giving up, and I'm coming back now because it makes no sense
yeah,
anymore. Tried, I have done everything, and things are just getting worse now. So it's better I come back." So I came back, and I think um, if my parents wouldn't have given me that time to try, I would have felt a little regret. But now I think because I tried and gave my 100%, I don't have any regrets that sort, which is very important. And I think,
hmm.
yeah,
But
that was.
do you see like therapy as your entire career? Do you think you would want a career in therapy for, like, through your life?
Yes, I do. In
Doesn't it
fact,
get too heavy?
I did the internship. I spoke to a lot of therapists just to like understand. And I before I even started my application process, I went to this psychiatrist, and he said, you feel that therapy is not is something different and like, not monotonous. It is the most monotonous job you'll ever have.
Exactly.
And I was like, how can therapy, I was so naive. I was like, how can therapy be so monotonous? I mean, everybody has different problems, everybody is
Hmm.
different. How can it be monotonous? I mean, like, if somebody from depression comes to you, there'll be different ways of treating, but this, the effects of depression, the anxiety, or everything, the themes are going to remain the same for each and every
Hmm. Hmm.
um,
Hmm. Hmm.
disorder or thing. So it can get very monotonous hearing depression, or anxiety, or stress every
Yeah.
day. So
No,
I
I
was
get
like,
you. I get
okay,
you.
I did the internship for a year, and then I was like, okay, this is what I want.
But at the same time, like, this is like somewhat of a heavy question. Are you in the mood? Like, are you in the headspace for a heavy-ish question?
Mm, I'm always in the headspace.
Yeah, you're a therapist. No shit, you are in the mood. Yeah. So, do you at some point like now? I don't know if this connects with our generation and our age group in particular, but this is what somewhere I feel a dependency on external forces to keep you happy or keep you intact. Let's say, like, I personally am quite dependent on external factors to be, I need like constantly people around me to be okay. At the same time, which is why through the pandemic, I was going like absolutely insane. I was losing it completely. So for that matter, like there are people who are heavily addicted to social media. So if you take their like phone away or like social media apps away, they go fucking berserk, right? And do you think that there are, I don't know if there's a connection, but a vague connection that there might just be individuals that are dependent on therapy more than to keep them out of a negative space rather than to put them in a positive space, like saying
uh,
that, like, no, like go here, therapy will fix it, rather than like I'm sure issues are issues and everything is like, to each its own, but would there be people who are heavily dependent on just going to a therapist and thinking that, yeah, it's going to be fine because of this?
uh, I don't know actually. Because I see therapy as something, rather than providing you practical solutions, I see therapy as, or therapist as somebody helping you cope with different situations, making you more self-reliant to be able to cope with future on your own. I mean, as a therapist, my goal is not to make my client stay with me for lifetime. My goal is to make him self-reliant and make him understand, or self-aware, or ways of him to, like, be able to grow and think on its own, on on
Yeah,
their
yeah,
own.
yeah.
So like, if somebody comes to me with anxiety, and I'm teaching them about anxiety, I'm telling them about the themes, we're discussing how he can cope with it, she can cope with it. We're talking all about all this. We're making them more self-aware about their thoughts or dealing with anxiety. After a point, say my client says, okay, maybe I want to see how I can deal with things on my own. And I say, okay, fine, you want to see that. I think you're ready and you can deal with things on your own and you go your way. But if at any point of time you need me back, I am going to be there. So,
Hmm.
say that person is on their own, and then they come to me after 6 or 7 years that, okay, I was fine all this while, now I need a recap or I need something. And that's when they come back, or something like that. But like, for me, therapy is more, or being a therapist means trying to make my clients feel more reliant, self-reliant, and making them more self-aware about themselves, teaching them these small things that they can cope with things on their own.
Fair enough. Okay, I get what you mean. Understandable. Yeah, that was somewhat heavy, but yeah, that was my question. But yeah, on that note, I think it's been a long podcast. I think people won't register it anymore. So yeah,
Okay.
uh,
Thank you for
thank you for being here.
having
Actually, I
me.
really appreciate it. I'm glad we
Yeah,
could go
thank,
back and forth on a lot of things.
yeah,
You're a smart person. I enjoyed having a conversation with you.
thank you so much.
Um,
And I don't think I'm a smart person, but
yes,
thank
you
you.
are. Yes, you
No,
are. You don't think you're a smart
not
person?
yet. I think I'm just not just there. Yeah, there's a lot of learning left. I don't think I'm smart.
Smartness doesn't have to do with learning as much as it has to do with your innate ability to get things. I don't know. Maybe we have difference in opinion in that as well, I guess. That's fine. But
Yeah.
please tell people about Enrich first. I didn't ask
Uh,
you anything about that. I'm so sorry.
so that's fine. That's fine. So Enrich is basically my small boutique wellness practice where I try to um, I have an Instagram page through which I try to create more awareness about mental health and mental health issues, mental illnesses. I also am a practicing psychotherapist. So yeah, that I believe that there's no diagnostic label. It's more collaborative narrative work that I do with Enrich. Um, I have a lot coming up that is planned for Enrich. So let's see, slow steps. Still very new, still a 3-month-old baby, I think. Yeah,
That's fine. That's okay. I mean, all of us start somewhere, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I'll be sure to spread the word about Enrich. I think you're doing a really cool job. I love the. I'm not. I like aesthetic, but I'm really not very creative with aesthetic. Like I can't create posts. So when I see your Instagram page, I really find it like soothing because it's like all. It's it's
Trust me, this
nice.
took me a while to learn, so it's
Yeah.
fine. You'll
Where do you
get
edit? Where do you edit these like posts? Where do you make them? Can
Canva. Yeah,
yeah.
everything on.
I don't know, man. It's a learning curve that I'm not prepared to take.
I didn't think I would ever get where I have gotten here with the graphics, and I have gotten somewhere, I feel. So I'm pretty motivated to see if I can do the extensive artwork kind of a thing that I see on all these aesthetic
Yeah.
Instagram pages. But if not, I'm very content with where I am right now with my aesthetics.
I'm glad. I'm glad that's the case. On that note, thank you for being here, Ash. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
Bye
you for
bye.
having me. Bye bye.